Hello and welcome to Front Seat to Climate Change. I am your host Dawar Butt. Last week we took a look at how flash floods have become common in Pakistan and Canada, and this week we saw an unfortunate incident of flash floods at Babusar Top. Today we're heading to one more country in South Asia where the flood waters are rising and the warnings are growing louder. We're talking about flash floods, fast, fierce, and often fatal. In Bangladesh, they arrive within hours. In Libya, they swept an entire city. In Pakistan, they are coming crashing down from melting glaciers. In Canada, even once dry towns are being swallowed whole. So, what's going on? Why are flash floods becoming more intense, more frequent, and more deadly across such vastly different places? Before we dive into our conversation from Bangladesh, here's a quick breakdown of the global picture from Alize Fatma.
It started at Babusar Top. July 2025, a cloudburst struck northern Pakistan's scenic mountain pass. Within minutes, torrents of water and rock came crashing down the slopes. Tourists were swept away, roads disappeared, and nearly 250 people were left stranded, disconnected, without signal in a region now cut off from the rest of the country. It was not just rain, it was a flash flood. Sudden, violent, and merciless. But Babusar was not alone. This summer, Pakistan has been drowning in its deadliest monsoon seasons in years. Punjab saw 124% more rainfall than usual. Glacial melt in Gilgit-Baltistan driven by searing heat crosses 48 degrees fed rivers that cracked open. Entire villages were washed away. In just 3 weeks, over 220 people died, and the season isn't even over yet. A year before that, in August 2024, the skies opened up over northeastern Bangladesh. Triggered by torrential rains and water released from Indian dams upstream, flash floods submerged 11 districts. Over 5 million people were impacted. 71 lives were lost. Crops, roads, and homes disappeared under thick brown water. People waited for rescue on rooftops. The flood arriving so fast, many had no time to flee. And then, the disaster no one expected. Libya. In September 2023, Storm Daniel struck the country's east. First came heavy rain, then a deadly silence. 2 aging dams, cracked and neglected, collapsed above the city of Derna. What followed was apocalyptic. A 10-foot wall of water surged down the valley, tearing through buildings, streets, and lives. More than 6,000 people died. Entire families were never found. Thousands of kilometers away in Canada, a country rarely associated with sudden flood, climate change had been quietly rewriting the script. Flash floods, once rare, are now common. In 2024 alone, parts of Nova Scotia, British Columbia, and Quebec saw suburban neighborhoods turned into lakes within hours. Cars floated down streets, basements filled up in minutes, and emergency calls surged. This wasn't just extreme weather, it was a systematic failure. So what connects these places? What is the thread running from Babusar to Bangladesh, from Derna to Montreal? Speed. Flash floods aren't slow disasters. They come like thieves in the night, fast, noisy, and brutal. Whether it's a cloudburst in Himalayas, glacial outburst, failed drainage in urban Canada, or a dam collapse in Libya, the story begins the same way. Sudden rainfall, weak infrastructure, a system overwhelmed, and people unprepared. Then there's the silence before the chaos. In Bangladesh, the flood arrives before the warning can. In Derna, no siren rang. In Babusar, tourists were told the road was cleared just minutes before the water came. The final, cruel similarity? After the flood, survivors asked the same question. Why wasn't there a warning? Why did it happen again? And will anyone be held responsible? In every country, the answer echoes with the same uncertainty. Climate change has intensified rainfall and heat. Urban sprawl has eaten away natural flood buffers. Governments are slow to respond, and infrastructure is either outdated, overwhelmed, or in Libya's case, criminally ignored. Flash floods are no longer just natural disasters, they are man-made too. 4 countries, 4 different landscapes, but the same soaked story. We didn't see it coming. We didn't act fast enough.
So this was Alize explaining the similarities in the patterns of flash floods. Whether it's northeastern Bangladesh, coastal Libya, the Canadian prairies, or Pakistan's northern valleys, flash floods are no longer freak events. They're the new normal. Before we get into a conversation with our expert, here's a simple breakdown to understand what's going on. Let's break down the common threads. First, climate change. Warmer air holds more moisture, which means heavier downpours in shorter spans of time. And that's triggering sudden floods across all 4 very different regions. Second, land use. From urban sprawl to deforestation, we've altered the natural water pathways. So when the rain hits, there's nowhere for the water to go. Third, governance gaps, whether it's Libya's crumbling dams, Pakistan's weak early warning systems, or Bangladesh's overwhelmed embankments. Poor infrastructure and slow response are turning climate events into human disasters. And finally, inequality. The poorest communities, especially women, children, and the displaced, face the harshest impacts with the fewest resources to recover. Despite their different geographies and economies, these countries are united by one thing: being unprepared for a rapidly changing climate. To understand the human cost of flash floods in Bangladesh and what's being done about it, we spoke to Ashik Iqbal, a climate researcher and activist based in Dhaka. Ashik, thank you for joining us. Let's start with what's happening on the ground. Flash floods are becoming more frequent and intense in northern eastern Bangladesh. Can you talk about the situation in places like Sylhet and Sonamganj?
Okay. Uh, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for the questions. Actually, right before going into Sylhet or Shunamganj, at first I would like to say something on the flash flood. I saw the first part where you were discussing about flash floods being the new normal. Actually, that's the situation with the changing climate and everything. Like in previous time we used to design our cities and infrastructure everything maybe focusing on 25 years return period floods or maybe in the highest case it would have been taken as 50 years return period of floods, but with the changing climate the extremes are becoming more and more frequent. So that's where it comes, not only in Pakistan or Libya or India, in Bangladesh, but everywhere in the world. Like, it's becoming the new normal. Like, uh, maybe in some period there is drought and no rain, and then out. Like in a sudden it's a lot of rains and it is causing the floods, especially if I focus on the northwestern region of Bangladesh. It's in the foothill of Meghalaya. So definitely it is not something new, but the pattern of the flash flood, it's kind of very much new, and the extremeness and the frequency, it is becoming like not tolerable or easy to cope up with. So like people are used to with the flash flood in the region, but that was mostly happening, impacting their agriculture. So it was kind of, if we know that there is some time of hydrological changes are happening, and maybe we're gonna have a flood peak in 10 days, so that was enough for them, so they can harvest their crops. But recently what is happening, it is actually what we understand by the flash floods and the impact that is directly, not only to the livelihood but also to the life of the people, to the whole scenario of the cities. Mostly it happened in 2022. So that was kind of extreme. That was 123 years return period of rainfall. You can imagine, like we imagine 20-year return period of flood or rainfall events, or 30-year, but it and highest, in highest case we maybe calculate for 100-year return period events, but it was 123 years return period of extreme events happening in those regions, and all those rainfall actually finally run off to the basin, the Meghna basin we call it, that covers the Sylhet and Shunamganj region.
And how are the most vulnerable communities coping with? How are local communities, especially women and low income groups, managing repeated climate shocks?
About the impact, like people have never seen this kind of flood in their life, let alone the flash flood. So like there was no such kind of preparation, no such kind of infrastructure or flood management strategy in that specific region, mostly in the urban or the formal settlement area. Yeah, some of the agricultural area, they have like their own adaptive capacity that mostly focus on like crop protection and this kind of things. But when it comes directly into their houses, into the urban areas, and maybe in between one, like we usually are familiar with floods or flash floods that comes maybe with 2 3 hours lead time and wash out everything in 1 or 2 hours. But that was like continuous of 2 3 days rainfall and continue flooding. So like I will have to say that it is something that no one has expected, no one has any preparation, let alone the community, but also the practitioners. Like it is not something that flash flood are very much new things to that reason, but it's about the frequency and the intensity, not only in the Sylhet or Shunamganj region, but we also had some events in Chittagong Hill Tracks in 2023, and also one in Feni in last year in 2024. So these are the events. It is continuously happening in different region that has no experience like the Feni I told in 2024. This region maybe in 30 or 35 years they had no experience of this kind of floods. So people were all on a sudden like no idea what to do, how to cope up. But this is kind of things or kind of reasons that people are facing the events. They have like no preparation, or they haven't even seen in their dreams to be in such kind of situation. So that is what is making things difficult for us and for the community to face and manage with.
It's often said that Bangladesh is a global model for resilience, but resilience comes at a price. Does that resilience come at a cost? What are people giving up just to survive?
Yeah, that's really important point. Like especially in our research sector or in development sector, we hear a lot about being resilient, being adaptive, such kind of things. But the issue you mentioned, like what cost do we pay for this? I will just simply say one thing: the people that have a good, solid, we say like pakka household and better economical financial situation, they are more resilient, because when they have a strong house, it can withstand flood. When they have enough money, maybe it is 1 or 2 weeks of flood, they can survive without any kind of going to work, or they can use their reserve money for the purpose. So people, like, this is a very much to the point or structural measure that people feels like this is what make you resilient. The impact of this kind of psychological setup is all family are changing their livelihood. If you go to those vulnerable communities or the distance villages, you won't find any maybe 90% of the family, their youth or the the people with 20, 30, or 40 years age, they do not live in their villages. They are going to the urban area, city area, in search of better livelihood, to earn some more, not to like migrate or not to be settled there, but just to earn money so that they can have a resilient house in their village. This is very much heartbreaking. Like when we say about resilience, we say a lot of things. Maybe you can see somewhere people are saying that, yeah, the all the children or all the people in that village know how to swim, so they are resilient, somehow resilient to flood events, because they are not gonna be drawn, let alone washed away. So you can say them theoretically, definitely theoretically, that they are resilient to flood events. They won't die, but that is not justice, nah? So when we talk about resilience, sometimes we forget justice. So that is very important thing, I would say, to keep in mind, that when we are having a maybe flood resilient planning or flood resilient strategy, this is something we miss out about the justice. We also need to think about there is a social life, there is some kind of indigenous practice and family value as well. So this is all those social and cultural values. These also need to be taken into account when we are planning and we are talking about resilience. So this is the thing I would say that uh, in most of the cases, cost on like when we try to take steps to make community flood resilient or climate resilient, this kind of things.
What kind of early warning systems or local language exist around flash floods, and where do they fall short?
Okay, if we start with the forecasting system, uh, first of all, I would like to emphasize in one side that in many discussion, maybe we try to avoid because of some conflicts that uh, this kind of forecast or environmental management this cannot be very much like too much specific to maybe a region, to maybe a country, but it must like the hydrological process, it depends on a hydrological region, not in a country region. So when let's say about the Sylhet, the northwestern region we started talking about, if we want to give a flood forecasting in our northwestern, especially the Sylhet area, we will have to calculate from the upstream area in the Meghalaya hill tracts and mountains. So this is the thing. First thing I would say that the challenge mostly in not only in the Ganges, Brahmaputra, Meghna basin, but also most Hindus have some sharing portion of river. So in this type of areas, we need to have like a collaborative approach, and we say that the transboundary management. So this is important thing we need, but definitely we are having some progress on this. We have some data sharing treaties with upstream countries. So this is one development I would say.
What does government support look like once the floodwaters recede? Is the government investing in long term adaptation or just disaster response?
About the government initiative in few years back, there was only flood forecasting in some major rivers. But recently, they have started to initiate flash flood forecasting. So the lead time is not very much long, most probably with 4 hour of lead time, the flood forecasting that are coming. So it's like for the main rivers, we came to know about 5 days earlier the forecast. Like in 5 days, the flood situation would be this or that. But in terms of flash flood, it's mostly about 4 hours. So what should I say that actually the nature of the flood plus flash flood is kind of complex. So even we if we can have more forecasting with more lead time, that would be helpful, because those people living in that community, they are not that much capable of using technologies or using in living in such a region that with 4 hours of lead time they can have their all preparation done with management or evacuation or this kind of things. So but even a few years ago, we even do not have this forecasting on flash flood. But I would definitely say that this is something new. People have never seen this kind of extreme and frequent events. So even we have the early warning, it needs the government or the organization, local government responsible for the flood management to disseminate the forecasting information. Or sometimes we have seen in terms of cyclone and storm surge in the coastal regions, like the government, local government, and sometimes law enforcing agencies, they have to go to people inside the village and ask people that this is the situation, you need to evacuate. Otherwise, like those people, they have, over the years, they have seen cyclones, they have seen floods. Like we know that flash flood is not something new, but the frequency and the level of extremeness they are used to with the previous events that happened earlier, which maybe was not that much extreme. So they have some adaptive strategy with those events. So maybe sometimes they think that we can cope up with, even if it's 4 hour or even if it's coming in 2 hours, maybe we will just stop working and have our belongings inside the house. But sometimes when it is extreme, this kind of strategy isn't working. So you also asked about the adaptive management. Yeah. So this is something, yeah, definitely government is working on it, but uh, you know that 80% of our land is floodplain, so it's huge area and a huge number of people that are living in that floodplain areas, their livelihood and their homes, their families. And because of the scarcity of lands and housings, people, like they do not have any other means to like live in protected areas. So even if government have sometimes some types of initiative, or they ask maybe constructing embankments, but people have no way that they are actually going to live in the vulnerable areas, because maybe because of some financial security or this kind of things. So this is where we are lacking. And also, like people have to work maybe from the morning to the evening. So this is sometimes become difficult for the government to manage those people, like when you are working in some remote agricultural lands that are beside the rivers or beside the streams. And it is maybe with 2 hour or 3 hour of lead time flash floods are coming. We maybe government have some evacuation strategy or response team in the field, but they are somewhere that is not very much easy to reach them. So this kind of limitation is also existed there. But I would have to say that especially in disaster management, not only the government but also the resource organizations and also civil society organizations, they are trying a lot. They are investing a lot. They are like trying to develop strategies to cope up with the changing situations, with the frequent extremes, and also at the same time how it can incorporate more or number of people into the strategy. So yeah.
In a country constantly battling water, young people are building lifeboats of their own, literally and metaphorically. Can you share some examples of grassroots or youth led initiatives that made a tangible difference in your region?
uh, that is actually the hardest part. uh, as I mentioned earlier, that as a coping strategy, some of the men or the earning person of the household, they sometimes go to the city, urban areas in uh, source of a better livelihood. Uh, but these, as you say, that the women or the vulnerable people, they are the people, they are actually responsible for the houses. So even if they are in a vulnerable situation, they have to like find a strategy to cope up with. So it like the resilience and of human being, not only I would say the South Asian people, is like pretty high. So even if it is there is time I have seen that people just the banana trees they float in water. So they have like tied 4 5 banana trees together and made it like a floating what should I say? We call it in Bangla bella. So it's like just a mm, like a platform. It is floating, and they have uh, they are staying on that platform. They are living on that platform, and they have their cooking mechanism also in that floating platform of maybe uh, like 10 15 feet long. So this is something like incredible. I would have to say about the coping strategy. Sometimes it happened that they were like sleeping in their beds, and when they wake up in the morning they couldn't find their little children of maybe 1 or 2 years of old, because in the night when they were sleeping maybe they have slept in the flood water out of their bed. So like with their coping strategies, this is a very much like very much I would have to say local, and that is locally available, that has a lot of limitations. So yeah, I would say that they are the people in the front line. They are the people that are like contributing to the society, to the family a lot, and they are the people that are mostly vulnerable, and they are the people that have the least coping uh, mechanism or coping strategy.
How do people in Bangladesh connect their climate reality to the global conversation on climate justice? Is there a growing awareness around issues like loss and damage?
Okay, uh, thank you. That's actually a very important point, I would say, for a country like Bangladesh. Uh, Even if I talk about the last 3 4 years or maybe 5 years that have like extreme events in every year, not only with the flash flood, but also with the riverine flood, the storm surge, and also we have experienced heat wave and droughts as well. So, like the loss and damage due to this extreme event, uh, it's like beyond calculation. In especially if I say that in the Sylhet region, we do not have the data that how much uh, agricultural land have been washed away. Like we have the data of the area of the land, but when we say the loss and damage, we need to calculate in monetary value. No? So we are trying to guesstimate with some statistical measure with the land area, etc., etc. But the people that have faced those impacts and have those loss and damage in their life, they are somewhere living very hard to reach. So we have this one struggle with like data on loss and damage. But if you ask about the conversation, this is very much into the mainstream. Even though we lack about the actual quantified data on loss and damage, we are very much like Bangladesh have executive committee member on loss and damage board. So this is something very much good for Bangladesh in terms of international climate advocacy. Uh, about the national, we are still developing methodology or methodological frameworks, not only for the direct, I just said about the direct loss and damage due to those extreme impacts, but it also have some other indirect and non-economical loss and damage, like I said about the life of a children, how you can quantify this. Not only about that, but also the time frame, maybe 1 month or even 1 week. The schools are closed due to the disaster events. So how do you calculate those non-economic, and also there are a lot of psychological loss and damage due to those extreme events, like especially with climate extremes and the international the disaster events being new normal in the regions that have never experienced such kind of disaster. There, it also creates a lot of psychological shock as well. So these are the things that are being worked in the national level. Uh, like, but I would have to say that the amount or the number of population living in the country and facing the climatic disasters, it do not have that much capacity in the national level or maybe in the research level to reach out to each and everyone. But those people that are working on these sectors or in these fields, maybe uh, I would say that not only the researcher, but also the activist and the advocate, they are very much vocal. You know about the late Professor Salimul Haq. He was one of the pioneer in formation of the Loss and Damage Fund. So we know that are we? We know what we want. We sometimes we also are able to express in the global advocacy and global community that we are in such situation, but you know about the complexity and the technicality of the global stage, and especially I would say that United Nations and other UN bodies and those global organizations, the technicality they have, it is kind of like complex for us or our researcher to meet with. This is where we are working, and maybe we are sometimes lack due to the on-field data and real-time information. We are developing remotely sensed, like with satellite based or some drone based data collection strategies to like collect those loss and damage data. But you can understand about the sheer amount of the loss and damage we are facing every year, like in different region, in different dimension. In the north western part, we are having drought. So agricultural is being affected. We are talking about northeastern part of the flash flood in the Chittagong hill tracts. There is also flash flood events, and in the coastal region about the cyclone and other kind of like the impacts due to the climatic parameters. And so this is something like we have support from the global community. We are working on the ground, but we are somewhere in the middle to meet those technicalities that need by the global climate negotiations and global climate organizations. But I will have to say that this is where the justice come. You like in everywhere, if you try to do everything scientifically and methodologically, this is like maybe people in UNFCCC, they have those knowledge and those capacity to meet up those technicalities. But sometimes countries like Bangladesh and other vulnerable countries I would not name, they do not have those technicalities. So this is where we not only need advocacy from our side about those funds, um, but we also need like support and capacity building on those technicalities, so that we do not need to depend on the global communities for our justice. We can have our own capacity. We can have our like own resources, own people who are able to meet and ensure the climate and environmental justice inside the country, in every corner of the country, to the from the urban area to the most vulnerable remote countryside area. We we should ensure climate justice through everything, not only adaptation, not only resilience, but we need to focus on justice.
From grassroots boards to global bargaining tables, Bangladesh is doing more than just surviving, it's leading. But surviving shouldn't be the only goal. Communities like Sylhet deserve support, not just sympathy. This has been Front Seat to Climate Change. I'm Dawar Butt. See you next time.